Hey guys, it's Belle here. We are back for another book review. So for this book review, we are reviewing Look What You Made Me Do by Elaine Murphy. The description of the story is Carrie wants a normal life. Carrie Lawrence doesn't need a happily ever after. She just needs to settle for after. After a decade of helping her sister hide her victims, after a lifetime of lies, she just wants to be safe, boring, and not trekking through the woods at night with a dead body wrapped in a carpet. Becca wants to get away with murder. Becca Lawrence doesn't believe in happily ever after because she's already happy. She's gone away with murder for a decade and has blackmailed her sister into helping her hide the evidence. What more could a girl want? But first they have to stop a serial killer. When 13 bodies are discovered in their small town, people are shocked, but not as shocked as Carrie, who thought she knew all the details of Becca's sordid pastime. When Becca swears she's not behind these grisly new crimes, they realize that the town has a second serial killer who has the sisters in his sights. And what he wants is Carrie. So I think I gave this rating on my Instagram. If you don't follow it already, leave it down in the description. I gave it an 8 out of 10. The reason why I gave it an 8 out of 10 is because it's 12 chapters, but it's so fucking thick and it drags on for so fucking long. I don't mind long chapters. You know, I don't mind how thick chapters are or how chapters can be or whatever. You know, people do what they want when they want to. People do what they want and write what they want however long they want. If they want a short story but kind of drag it out to, 300, almost 400 pages, good for them. I'm just not about that. But, yeah, sorry, I'm getting coffee right now. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad book, that's for sure. It was definitely, it was very interesting. And especially when it just starts out as like, oh, hey, I'm your sister, I'm gonna kill people and you have to help me because, well, if you don't, I'm gonna convince you that the police are gonna find the bodies and with your DNA on it. Which is already creepy, like, telltale enough about, like, well, shit, thank God I don't have a sister. But, yeah. It was pretty interesting to read, despite it being long as shit. But it kind of is a little bit tedious and a bit boring at first, because you know a lot of, Carrie's boring life and all that shit. But, as it does go on, and the more you read it, it starts to reveal more of, like, the serial killer, the other one that's after Carrie, and then you start questioning who it actually is. At first, I genuinely thought it was the husband, because usually when you have a husband in this game that kind of just randomly appears and reappears and tries to console her and like, oh, it's okay, it's usually the husband in that scenario. But surprisingly, it wasn't the husband. I was actually surprised on who it was, but I'm not going to spoil it, so you can go ahead and read it for yourself. Again, it is a very long and tedious book, so it does get boring throughout the middle chapters, but excuse you, lady, I'm trying to do a book review here. But it does get more interesting throughout the book. One of the things that I found interesting, though, is the serial killer. I'm trying not to do much spoilers here, but the serial killer does do, like, I don't want to say like a Saw reenactment, but he has this cabin where he takes his victims, and he's like, oh, you can live if you try to escape, but let me warn you, nobody's ever escaped before. So his victims try to escape the cabin they were in, and, well, they didn't, and there's different rooms, different trapdoors and all that stuff, and I'm just like, that's new. Also, I think one of the funniest things about this, funny thing about this serial killer that makes absolutely zero sense is, he likes taking feet. Yeah, I found that really fucking weird, but really fucking funny, because he takes feet, and his name, his serial killer name is Footloose. Which I thought was pretty fucking stupid, but really funny at the same time. But yeah, because I'm just like, he takes feet and his name is Footloose. It's really fucking funny. But, yeah, I definitely did enjoy this book. I have no idea where I got this book. I don't even remember where I got it. $17. Could have been Target, could have been, I want to say thrift store, but most of my thrift store books has little markers on it. So I generally don't know. So, if you want to go read that, I'm sure you can find this everywhere. It is pretty suspenseful. And it was, pretty good in the end. Actually, also, before I forget, the ending was also a bit weird. It kind of threw me off because it's like, once you read it, you'll understand why, but the ending just kind of made me like, what? That's it? That's also, I guess, a reason why I gave it an 8 out of 10, because the ending, I'm just like, okay? I'm like confused, but I'm just like, whatever about it. But even still, I'm just like, what the fuck? What was that ending? It was kind of confusing, but like, whatever. So the next book that we were going to be reading and hopefully reviewing by the end of the month, because I'm trying to hit my goal of reading 5 books a month. That was my 4th book this month. So, Holding Up the Universe by Jennifer Niven, author of All the Bright Places, is the next book to read. I already read a little bit of it, but this one is about Libby is a girl whose name everyone knows, but no one really sees her except Jack. Jack is a guy who's friends with everyone, but he doesn't let anyone in except Libby. And the two make an unlikely pair, and yet they just might be able to change each other's worlds. So, if you all don't know, All the Bright Places, I think, is one of my favorite, like, depressing romance, like, sad romance movies. Like, I fucking love All the Bright Places. I've watched it about 4 times, and I've cried during all those times. So I'm pretty excited to read this. What's interesting about this, though, was that it's about a guy who has prosopagnosia, which is the inability to recognize people's faces, which is usually a brain injury thing, which the dude Jack has. But what also really doesn't make sense in this scenario is that Libby is, I mean, I guess people can come up with whatever they want because it's their book, but it's interesting because Libby is a former fat teen who was almost like 600 pounds and had lost almost of that weight during fat camp, and so it's going to take us a little bit through their lives and everything like that. But I'm excited to read this. It doesn't have chapters. It just has it has 18 hours earlier, 4 days later. It kind of just goes through. Oh, and it goes through, like, ages 14, 13. Oh, nice. And then it's, like, now, and then it's, like, 4 days later, and then, stuff like that. So, yeah. The next 8 days, and the next 4 days, Saturday. So kind of stuff like that, which I think is, I don't know. I like having chapters because it's, like, I like having a set of, like, oh, okay, I'm on chapter whatever, not page whatever. I'm very weird like that. I like doing everything in chapters, and that's also because so I don't get confused, and then it's just like, if I end up of like, I mean, it is in different point of view, so it goes through Libby's point of view, Jack's point of view, all that good stuff. So as there is a set, where you can stop at, not just a set chapter, which is where I like to be at, but I guess I'm not really complaining. But yeah, so that'll be the next book for that. And I think the book after this one I had picked too is Danger to Herself and Others, which is going to be another depressing ass book, but I'm actually pretty interested because I like depressing ass books. So yeah, that'll be that, and I hope you all enjoy. I know I'm doing book reviews for right now. Don't work today, so I might do some more creepy horror stuff, because I've been working on a new book. It's a not really a horror book. It's more of a suspense, like survival esque book where a girl is trapped beneath a collapsed tunnel. I was talking about this with my brother, and I was like, "Oh, book idea!" So that'd be interesting. And yeah, that is basically it. You know what to do. Everything's in the description. I love you guys, and